Why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a type of torture to have to listen to this show.
Very true.
Just tip of my drink.
Yeah, hopefully it's a pleasure for all of you listening to us today. And it's going to be a double feature week for us. So as you listen to us live or keep up with us
Yes.
on a consistent basis, I had some illness in the house, so we figured it would be easier, and it was easier for my family if we doubled up this week. So you're getting an episode on Monday and Wednesday this week.
And we're grateful for a speedy recovery for your family.
Yes, thank
Glad
you. As we get off today, as always, I am Matt,
I am Mason.
and we are here on the Hubgrass, as always. So twice this week for you. We have a really fun show, a show I think is really important to both of us in terms of our childhood, but also
Absolutely.
us as entertainment and really park fans as well. We're talking today about the great Jim Henson's Muppets. But before we get to that, let's talk about just kind of catch up on the week, or really 2 weeks now. Kind of random Disney news, and like being a Disney fan in today's day and age.
So much going on.
So much going on. So feel free to add in any thoughts you might have about this week. But the first thing I'll talk about is the great hunt for all of the 50th anniversary McDonald's toys. I'm not super into the hunt. I've actually had a few people ask me if I'm hunting them down, and they're surprised I'm not like religiously looking for them. I've only just grabbed a few. I actually got Simba and Pluto, which I'm really excited about. Have you had the chance to grab any more?
So, I actually got a Pluto.
Nice.
As well. Looks a little funny, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like his proportions are weird. But
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
It's a McDonald's toy, yeah.
Exactly. But then I got because I went with my wife and we got another one, and I did not get a 50th toy.
Oh.
I didn't even get a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
What'd you get?
Oh, I almost knocked over my mic. I got a fish from Luca.
Oh. Bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a fish from Luca, and it's like a water gun, and it spits water. So
Fun. I guess that's fun.
Yeah.
Again, at least it's Disney, Pixar.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, points for inclusion.
Yeah. Yeah. At least, yeah. At least it's like the equivalent of getting Dante at this point. So I've grabbed a few. Obviously, I've got. If you aren't watching the show, I'm watching, or you can see that I have Pluto and Simba sitting out, which I'm really excited. I got Simba, and I've gotten Rocket and a few more. I actually went to a McDonald's nearby by my work and like walked in and I did the whole like, hey, do you have any of the 50th anniversary toys? And they're like, yeah, we have these. And oddly enough, again, they had the Donald teacup from the Mickey and Minnie's line. So I don't know if they had like a ton of Donald left over and they're just like distributing them. Because I thought it was like a fluke that like one had them, but like I've seen multiple with the Donalds. I think that's kind of interesting.
So what's going to happen? What's going to happen is in the apocalypse, we're actually going to use teacup Donalds as currency. So, be like,
you never know.
How much for this jug of gasoline? 4 Donalds.
4 Donalds. Donalds and Luca Fish. But
yes.
So I've been looking at these toys to see like kind of we're a few weeks into this point, and obviously there's probably a couple more weeks left of these toys. Like which ones I actually want to hunt down and find. And I would definitely want to find Mickey and Minnie if possible. I think those are the main 2 that I would like to find. And really the Fab Five plus Pluto, and then also Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale also look pretty great. But I've been looking at the character molds for a lot of these, and I actually got one that I think is probably the worst character. Not necessarily her inclusion. She's actually one of those people. These characters actually had an attraction in a way at the parks, but Edna looks awful.
Really?
If you ever get a hold of Edna, she's like very flat, and she looks like a pig. like I'm not like trying to be rude. I'll send you a photo on my
Yeah,
phone.
you gotta have to put
But
it like front and
it's
center on the
it's
video.
pretty terrible. Just her mold is god
Huh.
awful. It's
Huh.
like it's basically like Edna sticking her face up to like as a kid, like putting her face up to like a glass window and like making faces. Exactly. I'll send you a photo right now.
Yeah.
It's shockingly bad. But are any of the toys that you haven't gotten yet that you're looking at, really trying to snatch up before this line
Um,
ends?
I'm not that attached to any. Like, I think if I was gonna get one, I mean, I suppose I would have wanted Rocket, which I got, and then
Yeah.
maybe Genie. I don't know why,
Hmm.
but I've always been attached to Genie. So
Well, Genie's one of those that's not even an actual statue, correct?
yeah, no, Abu is. So they swapped
Yeah.
him out. All right, so I'm actually looking at Edna. What happened here?
I don't know if I got like a bad
What
copy or
happened?
what. We'll have to share this on the stories
Yeah.
um, later this week, but that's really bad. It's really bad. My favorite thing I've seen though with people that have collected these and people are like again religiously collecting them
Yeah.
is I've seen a few people like get a really nice spray paint and are like giving them really great like rose gold finish, and I'm like
Oh, that's
that's what we
wonderful.
that's what we needed, yeah. So yeah, and again, I have we've talked about these toys enough, but yeah, that's where I'm at with them. It's like the big scuttlebutt within like a lot of Disney groups I'm in, where like people like now
Yeah.
like reselling them for like $10 a pop, and it's just
Oh
like come on,
gosh. Oh good. We're
come
at that
on,
point again.
yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yes. Speaking of reselling, this week we had the newest Castle collection, new Castle line of 50th anniversary merch. Have you seen any of it? Do you plan on picking any of it up?
Bits and pieces. I actually think we shared some of it on the in our story on our Instagram. Some of it's
Oh,
actually
okay.
really cool. I guess at some point they got wind that a lot of people were annoyed that it wasn't, nostalgic or anything, so they like started putting in park icons and stuff through
Yeah,
history. And I was like, yeah, that's what we want. That's all we were
that's what we
asking.
wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, and I shared a bag actually. It's pink,
Yes.
so it's not really it's not my color. But well, actually, yeah, now and then I guess that's my Nesbit sweater. But
Yeah. It's
um,
your signature color at this point.
at this point, but it was a really nice design. It looked really nice. They've been doing they really turned it around and really ended up. I like a lot of the stuff coming out for it.
Funny enough, you speaking of that bag, I think that was actually a Starbucks bag, and I will
Are
say
you
that
kidding me?
I think it is.
Oh my
It's I think honestly think Starbucks has a better pulse on their of like Disney fan like appetites because everything Starbucks comes out with is pretty darn good in terms of
Huh.
like especially their cups. And now they decided to come out with like a bag and a pin. They're spectacular. I have the the older like been there tumbler for Epcot and Magic Kingdom, and it has Dreamfinder and Figment. Like it's actually a Mickey dressed up like Dreamfinder image of Figment. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's spectacular. And then I have the Magic Kingdom one, which is pretty good. And then I have the
Uh-huh.
Magic Kingdom most recent version of the Been There mug, and it has Splash on it. It has like everything that you'd want, the Country Bears, all of that. And I'm looking at grabbing the other three for the other three parks because again they have Dreamfinder in the actual his
Dirigible.
Zeppelin dirigible. Thank you. Which I think is
Anytime
spectacular.
you need a
Yeah,
superfluous word, I'm here.
yeah, dirigible. And again, Figment and like all these old Epcot like nostalgic imagery on
Yeah,
it. It's spectacular, and I don't
it's
know.
great.
Again, like Starbucks knows marketing, I guess, better than Disney does in terms
Good
of
on them.
merchandise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very happy with also the 50th merchandise they came out with as well. So
It's
if you're
great.
looking for a really nostalgic Disney stuff, look at Starbucks.
Well, honestly, I will say the mystery pins, like the box pins that they
Oh
sell,
yeah,
I like those.
those are nice.
And yeah. So and they even feature a character that might come up today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really well thought out little line. I wish there was more variety to it, but I understand, you should only really do so much with those mystery
Yeah.
the mystery boxes.
Well, yeah, and even the pin sets too have been great. That came out alongside the mystery packs because I think the Nautilus is there. A large castle is also in it. They're beautiful. And if any of you out there that are D23 members, they've come out with some really great D23 exclusive pin packs, which I just became one, and I got my first set that came with my membership box.
Yeah.
Which came with Figment and an orange bird, like with a D on it, like a D orange bird. They're all great, and they came out with again one I think a couple weeks ago that had Dreamfinder. So I'm like been looking at it, I'm like I might need to pick that up to go with my Figment pin, but yeah. And so they're doing really great with the pins. I'm not a huge pin fan, but the merch they come out with and these 50th pins have been pretty spectacular for me to been like, maybe I'll grab a couple.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I rode the pin boom, we called it, of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, was that a mess. You got the sharks in there. You got, when, back in the early days, it's like the stock market in the 80s, it was all wheeling and dealing and, hey, I don't really like any of your pins. Have a good day. Hey, give me that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, we'll go into it someday.
Yeah. You've told me about your pin experience. I'd love to hear more about that because that's like a side of Disney fandom I have just kind of scratched the surface of. I probably own maybe 10 pins at this point. But I think it's fun, but I've never fully dived into the backwater, the back alley dealings of the pin life.
Honestly, I had some really good experiences, and frankly, I mean, within like the Disney side of my life, that feels like so foreign now because you don't really do it much. I mean, you don't at all now, but they don't really allow it much in the park anymore because of how crazy it got.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have like these prowler kind of like these huge looming guys just with these big thick books of pins just sitting in the middle of right in front of the fountain at Epcot, just like, you want to trade? You want to buy a sundial? Like it was weird. It got weird after a while. I'm like, this is kind of, and I'm like 10, so what do I know?
Yeah,
but
yeah. But speaking of wild and kooky things, let's talk about a fun and wild kooky set of characters.
Yes, it's time to get things started.
Yeah, there we go. I think it's time. I think we could talk probably a couple episodes on these guys. But the Muppets, Jim Henson's masterpiece creation, the Muppets. And so, as we start off today and go through this today, I think we're just going to let the conversation flow naturally because at first I was like, do we talk about Muppets, Muppet Vision, or do we talk about their entire involvement in the parks, going from like Here Come the Muppets to the controversy of the Michael Eisner stuff with the Henson family? I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that as well, or even to go to like the beginning of the Muppets and just like their entertainment library. I think. Obviously, we'll reference those things, but I think we sort of, it's up to you. I think we should. I'd love to stay within the parks initially.
Oh yeah,
because I really love Muppet Vision itself, because this is our Hollywood Studios or MGM Studios episode for our 50th anniversary run up. Because when they first came into the parks, they were MGM.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. Crazy thing I learned when I was on this journey was that for a hot second before Eisner did come on the scene, Henson was looking at buying Disney.
Correct.
That I did not know until I set out on this, and what a weird variant timeline that would be.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well,
crazy.
So I've heard this talked about a lot, and it's pretty well documented at this point. Because if you actually looked at the value of Disney versus the value of the Henson Company, Disney was pretty undervalued at that point,
Yeah.
and Henson at that point had a lot of capital for sure. But I guess it turned out he didn't have enough if he even attempted to do like a takeover or a buyout. So he must have what a lot of rumors are is that he had a lot of other investors behind him to
Yeah.
potentially get this to happen. And I think that's where Henson was a little skeptical about going forward any more than just the research stage, was because he realized he had to split the ownership with some people potentially to even
Yeah.
make it work for him. But yeah, that would have been a crazy, like you said, variant timeline if Henson owned Disney. I think it would be a much different Disney than it is today, maybe, because he had dreams of opening up parks and things like that with the Muppets. That was definitely, or actually, his whole library between Sesame Street and I don't know if Fraggle Rock would get its own land, but maybe.
Yeah, of course Fraggle Rock would. Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't even like do a park for this one, but I mean, you got Fraggle Rock, you got Labyrinth, you've got Dark Crystal, you've got well, I mean, I guess he could probably at that point finagle a Sesame Street. You could, so there's like 5 lands without even getting to the Muppets. You could have a Manhattan area for the Muppets Take Manhattan, the Bayou for his little swamp or whatever. There's so many fun things you could do. All of it irrelevant, but
yeah, at
anyway.
this point,
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of, I know we're doing this because it's related to Hollywood Studios for the 50th, but also this past week on the 24th, was it? Was it the 24th? I think was his birthday.
That's
correct. It was either 24th or the 26th. I'm 24th. Sorry. Yeah. So this was his birthday, and so there's also that. And
yes, it also worked out well that way.
Yeah, it would have been a very interesting world had Kermit been afforded the ability to rise to the real same level as Mickey. Because I know he's up there within regards to like how iconic he is as a character and recognizable. Sure. But there's a bit of a jump between Kermit and Mickey within the echelon of pop culture.
Yeah, and I think if the actual full acquisition happened of Henson to Disney or Disney to Henson, we would still see a similar park structure, I believe. But the Muppets for sure would have their own park, I think, or at least their own, or like his characters would have their own park.
Or at least like a big chunk of a park.
Sure.
Well, because that was initially going to be the plan for studios.
Correct. Yeah, the whole like Muppet Movie Land, which if you've never looked at the concept art for that, it's pretty spectacular.
Makes me weep.
Yeah, it's funny because you made a TikTok recently or a couple days ago, or even today, I think it was, about the thinking about if Euro Disney didn't fail, what we would have gotten in the parks. And I think a lot of that was some Muppet stuff. There should be like a Great Muppet in history, like actual ride. Like American Adventure style.
Yeah, and I still think, and I did this a long time ago on my TikTok, but I still think retrofitting the American Adventure with the Muppets instead of Mark Twain and Ben Franklin, I still think that would be great because because you're right, they were supposed to have their own attraction when they were finagling the idea of Disney's America. They were going to have an Ellis Island 3D film there. So that's really interesting that even at that point, they're still trying to figure out. And it's weird that it's another film, Yeah.
Yeah, I personally would love to see. We'll get into the actual what actually happened with the Muppets, but I think it's fun to talk about what could have happened here. Is that I would still love to see the Hall of Presidents close, and see the Muppets come in there and do their own thing instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that be, I think I would love to see them actually have a dark ride, or some kind of ride, because they're so physical, and it'd be great to get up close with them, and versus just a movie or a short.
Yeah.
Them either telling them like history or Ellis Island stuff would be great as well. Versus what we have now. I just I'm a very patriotic person, but I would love to see a refresh in some of these areas because I think they are becoming kind of dated, and it'd be a great way to tell history in more of a fun way.
Okay.
So
What about a dark ride? What about a dark ride where Bunsen Honeydew makes a time machine and you get to go through all the great moments of American history portrayed by the Muppets?
I love that.
Like half Muppet, half human. So like you'll be riding through the Revolution. And,
sure. Well,
So-
think about this. Your ride vehicle is a ride vehicle designed by Dr. Bunsen, and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
like a la time machine, and I just keep thinking of R5 from Rise of the Resistance, and instead of R5, it's Beaker pops up and
Yes!
leaps and things. I think that Beaker is the one driving the time machine.
Yeah.
I would love.
Be careful, Beaker. You need to make sure they get back.
Yeah. And he's it's like Dinosaur. In the background, there's Honeydew is yelling at you. That would be that would make my
There's a bit of narration.
That would make
That'd
my
be so great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They need to hire us. I think that ride needs to happen.
Oh, what if he tests I know this turned into an Imagineering podcast today, but
Sure.
what if he's testing it, he loses all the key Muppets throughout American history? That's why he needs us to go find them. So
Find that Muppet.
So you get back to the Revolutionary War. Sam Eagle has deposed George Washington and has taken over as general, and then you can have all kinds of things. You get to Mount Rushmore and Gonzo's there, and he's putting Gonzo noses on all of the presidents. Oh, you could have so much fun.
Spectacular. No, and I think, the Muppets are just so great, and they're so self-aware, and I think that just plays so well with making an attraction like that just kind of shine.
Oh, totally.
I would love that. Again, again, American Adventure. There's a lot of space back there. I'm sure they could gut that and put in that right as well. If they don't want to get rid of the Hall of Presidents, but it would fit in either park for me.
Now, did you see Great Moments in History? Just the American parts?
I've
the show.
I should have went back and watched it. I've only ever seen in the actual parks. I've only caught it the bits and pieces of it. I've never actually seen a whole show, but I do. Whenever I've watched it and seen clips, I always love it. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, no, I did. I love it. I loved it. Kermit in a tri-corner is always a win for me.
Of course.
Muppet Treasure Island is the first movie I ever saw in theaters. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. So the Muppets hold a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
I wish we did get more with them. I'm very excited about Muppet Haunted Mansion coming out almost right in time for my birthday.
You're right.
So
it's coming out soon.
yeah.
It's coming out soon.
Yeah.
I love that Ed Asner's going to have
Isn't that sweet?
a moment in there. Post
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. But I do want to go back to Epcot real quick because I just remembered that Sam Eagle, the restaurant in America, is now Regal Eagle Smokehouse is now the restaurant in Epcot.
Yeah.
So that would be perfect. Just put all the Muppets in American Adventure, give them the ride, and also the restaurant, and just call it a day.
It's
Um,
interesting to me, though, and I'm sorry for the quick pit stop. It's interesting to me throughout this history that we've seen they get whipped up in a lot of the Americana kind of stuff. Like they were supposed to be in Disney's America for, to show history. They did the great moments of Muppet history. Now they got the Regal Eagle in the American Pavilion.
true.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think because a lot of that is they are kind of the outside of Disney, kind of the iconic. I don't know, an American art form, American contribution to entertainment. I don't know. Maybe because Sam Eagles, but I feel like Sam was because I was watching back some old Muppet shows, and he
Yeah.
was obviously a player in it, but he was never like a main character. He
Yeah.
wasn't and wasn't. But I think just over the years that Sam Eagle persona and stereotype has just played really well with markets. I guess maybe I don't know. What are your thoughts? But you make a
I
really
don't
good
know.
point about that.
Yeah, I because it's just it kind of as I was studying like reviewing everything, I was like, wow, they always go for like a really patriotic kind of thing with them. I don't know what it is. I think it's a scrappy. It's kind of because I feel like Mickey and the gang is also very like you said very Americana and stuff like that, but the Muppets are much more scrappy. I
Yeah,
feel deeply. So
yeah,
I
I
don't
think you're
know.
right. Well, yeah, because on that note, I think that Mickey and friends are very sterile and like kind of perfect,
Yeah,
and kind of on that note that the Muppets represent a lot of different people and they're quite diverse. Obviously, they're animal puppets, but their
yeah.
personalities are very diverse, and they're such they're like an amalgamation of so many different stereotypes and characteristics that they kind of represent the entirety of America.
And you know what else? I also think they're a great halfway point between the magic, sterile nature of,
Yeah.
a lot of the other Disney properties and the real human world. So, like,
Oh yeah.
because they,
Also,
they,
that's
they
true.
do, they do interact with humans. It's not like they're in their own little cartoon fantasy world. So I think it's also an idea of putting them in to bring some levity to the gravity of the human American experience.
No, definitely. And I think also part of that too is that they entertain so many groups of people at once because they have struck such a great balance between the silliness of childhood, but also the more loftier comedy that, and even some crude comedy that older individuals appreciate. And I think that was the beauty of Henson's time with the Muppets, and I think that's where the current Muppets have kind of fallen off for me, is that they've really kind of really gone for the crude humor and less of the innocent. I mean, they've never been innocent, but like the slapstick comedy for all ages that they also
Okay.
balanced.
I, I
Because I was watching, I like in preparation for the episode, I kind of watched all kind of generations eras of the Muppets to kind of see where they're at, and I watched the ABC 2017 2011
15.
show 15, 15,
Yeah.
yeah, and that was awful. There were some funny moments, but it was pretty straightforward. Like, hey, Kermit's making love with his new girlfriend in his office, kind of thing. Or like back in the day, it was like more innuendo and kind of more veiled. And it didn't sit right with me. Like I'm fine with crude humor, but the Muppets to me kind of have like this like I would say like sacredness behind them, but they the like again I'm a Henson man, and I think that
Yeah.
Henson wouldn't have gone that far in a way. But I would love to hear your opinion on this.
So, well, first of all, his show, one of his first Muppet shows was sex and violence, so keep that in mind.
That is correct. You're very correct. You're very correct.
Loved the ABC 2015 Muppet Show. I was devastated when I wasn't a fan of it when it initially came out, but through quarantine I watched it again. I adored the show because I think the beauty of the Muppets is how malleable and pliable they are. They can fit to different situations, and I think the cool thing is that you can skew the Muppets a little bit more towards an adult, an adult comedy kind of situation, or you can play it down. I think that's the beauty of the whole gang, but especially Kermit, because Kermit is so oddly enough, so human. So I thought it was a great thing. It kind of kept the whole backstage feel of the original Muppet Show, that they're putting on the show. And I don't know, it gave an interesting look into these characters further than just the like I feel like Piggy has this whole arc throughout the show that I think is beautiful. I despise Miss Piggy. That show made me care about Miss Piggy. So, I think they did an incredible job with it. I'm interested to see it. And also, can I also just say really quick, I miss Steve Whitmire every day.
Yeah.
Playing as Kermit. He was, obviously Henson's, up, in his own league, but Steve was my favorite Muppet. My favorite Kermit. I wish he could get back, or someone who could do the voice, for crying out loud, could come back to
and maybe I need to watch more than one episode. So I only watched one episode, so maybe it might take me to get into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was turned off right away because it was like that. At this point, cliche ABC. Rip-off style of The Office that they've kind of adopted with all their shows.
Yeah.
Like the camera work and even the whatever filter they put on all of their shows is has that very same I don't know,
very modern family.
Very modern family, ABC sitcom style. And I'm such a big Office fan, and to see ABC coming try to rip off the style. Again, it's not. Office doesn't own that style. A lot of NBC shows adopted that style.
Yeah,
but it just seems overdone at this point. And and again, maybe I just need to watch it more than just that single episode. But it's everything kind of turned me off at once to it, and. Maybe it's because I watched 4 or 5 episodes of the original Muppet Show and then watched that. This is turning into not a parks discussion, but I think I always want to talk about it.
It's worth talking about. It's all Muppets,
no, it is.
So.
The original Muppet Show is brilliant. And I think it really shows the lack in quality of actor today, to be frank. Because if you watch, and this is maybe because I'm a big fan of him as well, but if you watch the Star Wars /
I was hoping you'd bring it up.
Mark Hamill episode is a masterclass in every form of comedy and how diverse Mark Hamill's talent is. And again, I think a lot of those actors that came into it were very much the same way. Is that they all had a kind of a repertoire that was beyond just acting. Because I feel so many, if that show was made today, and I know that the 2015 kind of dived in that a little bit, but it was
it's different.
It's different, but it was a true reality, what am I looking for? Variety show. Where the actor was themselves, and then they actually went through and did multiple different feats, or not feats, but it was a variety show. They acted in different situations, not just their typical character. And Mark came in and did his impressions, and he like sang with them and did a spoof on Star Wars and Star Trek, and it was it's one of the best original Muppet
Oh,
episodes of all,
yeah.
if not of all time, because Mark is just so talented. And again, there's other great episodes in the original show. It's funny enough. The first episode, the guest star was a dancer, and she like it was like it's like did like a ballet dance for like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this being this boring. And then I watched more, and I was like, okay, this is the Muppets that I remember, because like my first Muppet experience was that original show. My grandmother was a big Muppets fan, and I ended up watching a lot at her house when she would watch us as a kid, and I fell in love with that original show, and then it kind of blossomed into my love of the rest of the characters. Because I really was a Muppets kid. I watched Sesame Street, but not that much. I just enjoyed watching the Muppets, and I will throw myself out there. I've never really delved too much into Fraggle Rock. I've watched it a little bit just for like research purposes.
I get it.
And same with Labyrinth. I've actually never seen Labyrinth. It's on my list. But again, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to the Muppets. I just love those characters. When it comes to Henson's characters, those are my favorites. Far and away, just far and away.
Who is your favorite? Who is your favorite Muppet?
That's such a hard question. And it sounds cliche, but I adore Kermit. I really adore Kermit.
Yeah.
I I just find him so funny and so endearing and so comforting. But also, I'm a huge Fozzie Bear fan. Waka Waka. I just find him so funny. No matter what he's doing, I have to laugh. And it's funny, even the rendition of him in like the new the Muppet Baby shows. I still find him hilarious. Like my kids will be watching it, and I start cracking up. I adore those two, and again, it's cliche because they're kind of like the two like founding members of the Muppets, or kind of like the iconic two. But Kermit just is so comforting to me, and his down to earth nature, and kind of can get you through any kind of sadness or trouble you might be having in your life. And then Fozzie's there to make you laugh, and I think that duo is in my head some of the most perfect characters of all time. Just legendary characters. And then I'm also a big Statler and Waldorf fan too. But
you gotta be.
how about yourself?
Gonzo, wow, played my hand. Kermit has always been his. I feel like I've always had a soft spot for Kermit. I know I had a Kermit stuffed animal as a kid. Actually, not just any Kermit. I had a Muppet Treasure Island one, so he had like the jacket and the hat. Yeah, well, everything was pirates back then. Still is. Anyway, but Gonzo has always been my favorite. He's just funny. He's fun. He's crazy. Him. And yeah, I think. Obviously, him and Rizzo are like iconic as a duo. Mm-hmm. I know that they've leaned more towards pairing him with Pepe. I know in the 2015 show, it was actually a trio. That was perfect. That was amazing. Like Rizzo,
I did enjoy that.
Pepe, and then Gonzo is throughout that show. Is fantastic. So, and I think because of that show, Pepe grew on me because I never really cared for Pepe before I watched that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to say one, it would be Gonzo.
Yeah. No, I think those three are a highlight for me in that one episode I watched. And I think what also turned me off too is that I'm like on the boat of the Miss Piggy hate train, and it's so Piggy heavy, and that also turned me off. I was like, Piggy all the time and her issues. And again, I think I need to watch it because maybe I should get over that part. But
Yeah, no. Once it really gets it, because there is a lot of focus on her, because she has a main story and Kermit has a main story. I really think the season that we did get was really the growth of both of them as people,
okay,
as Muppets. But
yeah,
yeah, no. But I really cared about her by the end of the show, and it really changed the way I saw that character. So yeah.
did you watch the Disney Plus Muppet Show? Because I've watched bits and pieces, but not really. Personally,
I
to be
watched
honest.
one episode.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Again, it's the new guy, so I don't like. I'm already half out of it then,
sure.
and so
Yeah,
But
it was so like I watch shows to get away from reality, and it was so like we are in a pandemic style show, and it was like,
yep,
stop! I don't want that.
yeah,
Like, that's
yeah,
not what I
not
want.
good.
It's not what I want, and it was so Zoom call, virtual stuff. I was like, they're Muppets. Like, do they even have disease? And
Yes, can they even catch it?
I didn't need that. I didn't need that at that point in my life. And so again,
Honestly,
I watched one episode and I was done.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I would be open to. I know this is sort of sacrilege, but I would be open to a Muppets high adventure kind of cartoon, where they went on go on wacky adventures and do that stuff, but but to the kind of extremes of cartoony, almost Warner Brothers cartoon styles and things like that. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see them in that spectrum. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think we should probably get back to the parks.
No, yeah, we should get to the parks. But it's a good framework because
Yeah.
I love all of the movies and the show. Well, some of the shows. But I do adore pretty much the original cinema canon. I'm here or there on the recent movies, but I don't adore them like I do the other ones, like Christmas Carol and all that. I love those movies so much.
Every year.
Christmas Carol I think was my first Muppet movie I watched, and then I fell in love with the rest. But to the parks. So obviously we kind of hinted at and talked about a little bit of the looking at Henson buying the Muppets, and actually in the era of Eisner was looking at purchasing the Muppets, and during that period of time, they created what we now know today as Muppet Vision, and that was it's one of my favorite things in the studios personally, and it is so important now to not only that park but also the history of entertainment, because that was Henson's last work. That was his last.
Yeah.
It was like his ultimate, his kind of swan song. Obviously, he didn't know he was dying, but it was maybe he did.
Yeah, because it was pneumonia.
Yeah. So it was sudden in a way, and obviously he was on a lot of stress. So I'm sure his health wasn't spectacular, but it was his sign off, and I think looking at it, I think it's one of his greatest works, because he'd learned everything that he would learn in life, ranging from the classic art style of Muppets, but also or puppeteering, but also coming into a new digital age with 3D entertainment, things like that, and then also bringing it to a theme park. So I think it's one of the best Muppet pieces of art that we have, and it opened a year after he died because there were some issues with the family not wanting them to release the show, because there was again issues with Eisner and his pompous self. But what has been your experience with Muppets 3D? Your thoughts on it? Any kind of notes on the history of it that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do it on every trip. Out of just I feel like I have to. Uh, yeah. So I think, um, yeah, it's a classic. I don't ever want it to change.
Hmm.
I want. You can't. You can't. It would feel yucky if you switched it around. And
Yeah.
um, at least at the very least in studios. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's always been very special. I went down there this past March with the sole goal of getting something Gonzo related in the Muppet store, and it was closed because of COVID. So
Oh.
yay. Um, so
Yeah.
who knows? If I let's be honest though, if I actually ended up going there and it was open, it would have just been full of Baby Yoda merch. Let's be honest.
No,
But
that is true. It's been that way for a long time. Um, yeah, and I went down there and probably 5 years ago at this point, kind of after after being away for a while,
yeah,
and I was shocked at the lack of Muppets merch in that show in that shop.
yeah.
There was maybe some Muppet Babies, and that was it. It's become a kind of like a Emporium style, like just a random popular merchandise in
Hodgepodge.
that store. Yeah,
But that's every store at this point.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
I
But for the
I think the
but
only. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I was switching gears, but go ahead.
I think the only store that is like thematically sound on property anymore is Memento Mori.
Yeah,
And we're pushing it with we're pushing it with the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff in there. So
sure.
it's like all right,
Yeah.
fine, it
Maybe,
pass.
and maybe we'll get some Muppet stuff in there. Who knows? Um,
Ooh,
maybe. So, for those of you who don't know or haven't seen Muppets 3D, it is basically you're taking a tour of the Muppet Labs, and
yep.
they are showing you all of their new tricks and new ways of entertaining and their inventions. Their inventions, obviously, a la Honeydew and Beaker, and so they introduce you to. What's the character now? The 3D character.
Wow.
We're failing.
I literally had his name in my head.
I
Hold on.
told myself not to forget it, but you're
Yeah,
introduced to
I
this
just
this
did.
new 3D character that's basically kind of running amok now that he's been released into the world, and you're guided through by the bunny. Again, I'm also failing. What's his name?
Bean Bunny, and
Bean
he is
Bunny.
a
Thank you.
national treasure. He must be protected at all costs.
Yeah, Bean Bunny, and so yeah, he's kind of leading the show at this point.
Waldo's his character, the 3D guy.
Waldo C. Graphic. Waldo C. Graphic has been released into the world, and we're treated to their antics. And Bean Bunny is helping Miss Piggy with her new show or her part in the show, which is funny. Funny note about that scene. I was doing some research on it, and do you
Really?
realize that in that show or in that bit when she goes off on the jet ski, her head does not go with her. So if you watch it like very closely, her body goes, but her head goes backwards.
Oh
Um,
no!
yeah, so I may have ruined that scene for many of you at this point.
Oh
So next time you
no!
watch it, yeah, her head goes back. The thought is that it was because at the time, it turns out this ride was actually very much under budget, and they might not have created enough, they might have not created a water safe Miss Piggy head, and
Stunt
so
piggy.
a stunt piggy, and so they might have created like a stunt body, but they didn't want to ruin her head, so the puppeteer pulled her head back as her body goes forward. So if you watch it, once you see it once, it's
Oh
unforgettable.
no!
It's kind of like now you know. It's like one of those like visual puzzles where it's just like I can't not see it now.
Yeah.
So there's
Wow.
a lot of fun things with that, but
Yeah.
again, the not only is the show beautiful, but the theater is its own character in a way.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and it's one of the shows where there's so many different elements going on between
Oh
the
yeah.
3D show, the actual animatronics, and then a live actor, which
Yes.
is so unique. And I have also come to realize, or come to find out, that
Hmm.
that cast member has to be trained by Henson Company to be that character. So it's one of those special entertainment roles.
I don't know. I don't know. My wife actually worked very closely around the Muppet area,
Oh, cool.
and she was terrified of Sweetums. And one day she had to go backstage down this dark hallway, and she didn't realize that it was right when his time to come,
Oh
running out. And it
no.
was this dark lit hallway with like, like the horror movies with like the one fluorescent bulb
Yeah.
flashing. So she's like looks down, and all of a sudden he's booking down the
Sweetest
hallway
is
at
running
her.
at her.
Yeah, but
Oh
but
gosh, that's
I know
hilarious.
she had a friendship with the Sweetums after a while. So I don't know. That's really I never heard that before.
Yeah,
So that's really interesting.
everything I've read that character to be approved by Henson to be in that role, they have to be trained to at least some degree by Henson
Huh.
or the Henson Company. I'm not sure if it's like a online class or not, but they have to
Yeah,
have
it's
some
like
kind of
we'll
training.
sit you down for a video.
Yes, let's see you have a couple videos.
Yeah.
But it's so unique in that way. And I think it at this point, especially now post Great Movie Ride, it has the most animatronics in one single attraction in that whole park. Um, because if you count all the penguins, the penguins and Statler and
Oh.
Waldorf,
And
and
Bean.
then and Bean.
Oh,
Um,
and Swedish Chef, right? In the back.
oh, that's right.
Chef's in the
Uh huh.
back.
Again, also love Swedish Chef. Um, but it's such a great show. Yeah, I feel like we could have a whole like Muppet Vision episode going through the actual show itself, and then at
Yeah.
the end we have the Sam Eagle portion, and then also with Kermit coming through with the fire engine. Did you know that before the it's called the Stage One shop, but the Muppet shop.
Hmm.
Prior to that being built, there was the actual fire engine outside of the building to make you feel like you were actually walking out to that scene.
I know for a while. I don't know when it changed, but yeah, I know it was set up so that you were kind of led to believe that it just happened like right backstage
Yeah.
or wherever you were. Um, I like now that it's kind of a little dated, so now you see like kind of an older looking Pluto in the
Yes.
background. So but I love that feeling. So like I'm like yeah,
Yeah.
sure, wait, yeah.
No.
I will suspend my disbelief. So.
Yes. And I think it's one of those shows that I'm fine with it being dated because it is at this point a piece of history,
Yeah.
and and I think all the gags still work and the comedy is
Oh yeah.
still sound where it should last for a long time. But as we kind of talked about a second ago, I wish that there was more Muppet representation, not only in that area, but in that shop. And I just wish there was a revival of the Muppets. And I've heard that an issue has been, again, we're going to come back to him. Bob Chapek is not a huge fan of the Muppets, and not only his treatment of that IP, but also I guess personally, he's not a huge fan either.
Hmm.
So at least under this regime, because not only is the CEO now, but he was also in charge of parks and resorts for quite some time as well. So I think not until we have a true change of the guard will we see potentially a move towards more Muppets in the parks. And I think it's a blessing that we're even getting the Haunted Mansion movie with them, or at least this made-for-TV movie that we're getting. I think
Yeah.
that's such a huge step forward, because they're involved in a park IP. But talking about Muppet Vision, what is your thoughts on them putting in a new pre-show in 3D for the Haunted Mansion?
I just heard about that. I know absolutely nothing, but I'd love to see. I hope. I mean, I'm imagining it's just a temporary promotional thing.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's great. It's smart. Um, but yeah, I think that's great. I want they deserve at least that square that they're in. Do I want there to be more? Yes. Do I think there could be more? Yes. Like there is ground for it. Like there is room for
yeah,
it. I do think we need a CEO that will be willing to sow those seeds, if you will,
yeah.
and help that brand along.
Uh huh.
The biggest thing that I am sad we missed out on. I know there was supposed to be a ton of things, but there was
Yeah.
supposed to be like a ride companion to the Great Movie Ride,
Yes,
which was the Great Muppet Movie Ride.
I agree. Yes.
So that one was, and this is more for listeners than you because I know but there was it was supposed to pretty much be almost the same ride, but you go through movie scenes and they're giving you the wrong information and all the scenes are going wrong and it's chaotic. And I think now there's even a better reason for it, because now you have not only fans of Muppets, you have people with that nostalgia for the old, Great Movie Ride. You have, still you draw it back into the theme of the park. There's so much you could do, and you see that artwork of Peter Pan and they're swinging around, or Frankenstein and things going wrong there. I think it might actually be a better time for that. So
No, I think you're spot on with that, because with, again, there's such a call for, or there's such been fan outcry about the loss of Great Movie Ride, and I think if they basically take that square, like you said, that kind of plaza they have right now, and extend that back and have the entrance to this new ride, I think that would be a step in the right direction. I would love to see a full land, but I think if we just get one more ride with them in that park, I think that would be enough for me at this point. And yeah, and again, it would fulfill that need for me to see them in animatronic form more than a screen-based attraction.
yeah,
And
you know
yeah,
where there's land for it.
Where's
You know
that?
where there's land. Right next door at Star Tours.
You're right. You're right. And it hurts me to think that, but I I think you're right, because I was thinking about it in terms of, well, it's a attraction that George Lucas worked on directly. And again, George just has such a wide breadth of entertainment, and he's still alive, that it's not like where this was George Lucas's last work was Star Tours. It wasn't. So it's not as untouchable as. And again, I would never say it's untouchable, but I would be happy enough to see Star Tours lose its place to a Muppet attraction, and especially that one in particular.
What I think, well, here's the thing. I don't think you need to get rid of Star Tours. First of all, I mean, you still do have Star Tours on the West Coast, so there's that, and all
No,
around
you're
the
right.
world, frankly. But also,
Yeah.
I don't think you need to completely get rid of it, because all you really need to do is just move it a couple hundred yards over into Batu. And on that, we've talked on here before several times about kind of not so closely clutching on to canon. So maybe that's a way to kind of usher in a new age where you can have kind of a free flowing era thing in Galaxy's Edge, because canon just that is just so that's light
Yeah.
years away. No pun intended, but it's light years away from that ride.
Yeah.
So serve in ushering that, kind of opening up the abilities of Galaxy's Edge while opening up that area to Les Muppets.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I'm looking at the map real quick, and there is enough land back there that they could sneak it in
Or at least partially,
partially.
like a load area.
Yeah. I think they'll either have to get rid of Star Tours or there's actually land behind Star Tours. They could do that even, and there's a place to load in back there as well. It'll just be kind of a long load, but or even they could fit Q back there maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I again, if we lost Star Tours, I would be somewhat sad, but at this point with Galaxy's Edge, I'm not. It's not like it's a must for me anymore, to be honest. Muppets is more of a must for me at this point, and yeah, again, I would say if we lose Star Tours to the Muppet Movie Ride, let's do it, because I think that's more important for the parks at this point.
Well, and think about all the movies that they've acquired in the time, in that space of time. So think of all the Fox movies you can use.
Oh,
you could
yes.
You could slip in, you can even slip in a Marvel movie, playfully because of Universal. But all right, so have the Muppets as the Guardians of the Galaxy, let them have fun there, and
Sure.
Beaker as Groot. So I don't know.
That would
But
be great.
you can have that fun.
Yeah, no, for sure, and yeah, I think you're spot on. I think that would just be great to have like a mini. It'd be almost like a mini Muppet Land at that point, with
Yeah.
with 3D and then the Great Muppet Movie Ride, and then also Pizza Rizzo. Maybe put a better restaurant in there instead, but or just make that food better. um,
Well,
but
I think
yeah,
that was always part of the plan, was to have like the rats making the pizza like from the get go.
yeah,
Like way back into like the late '80s, early '90s. That was the plan. But yeah, like that area, it's called Park Square, like on a plaque. So why not
yeah.
just replace that with Henson Square? It's just Henson Square.
Ooh, there we
Off
go.
of Park Ave, there's Henson Square, and
I
it's
love
just
that.
that's it. It's just a little area dedicated to him, and the amazing talents that this whole group of people have been delivering to us for over 50 years now.
Yeah.
And so that's just my thoughts on it.
No, I think you're spot on. I think it won't be this administration, but I hope the next one will really go through and honor Henson's memory in the parks, because I th- he deserves it. I think that IP deserves it as well, and then having them in a more sustained place, or more of a presence than they have now, because I think it's fitting to keep them in studios. I would love to see them in
Oh
more
yeah.
parks, but if they're going to stay in studios, then let's give them another ride, another attraction for sure. Because I don't want a stage show. I don't want another Here Comes the Muppets thing. That was a fever dream of some Imagineer. But
I will say I think it would be cool to kind of in the same style that they did that SpongeBob SquarePants musical, to do the plot of the first Muppet movie. So I think that would be fun. I don't know why, but I've always just felt like that would kind of be fun. Like, you don't have to go, crazy, and they don't have to be in costume. He could be just a random kid, in a green sweater vest and green
Sure.
pants, and Fozzie can have like a fur like a faux fur coat or whatever.
Yeah.
And but you sing all those classic songs. It could be fun.
No, it could be.
Maybe
It could be.
maybe get rid of Beauty and the Beast. But anyway, that's
Oh.
my own thoughts. I hate that show.
Yeah. No, but I think having a whole mini land would be what the Muppets deserve at this point in the parks, and we need more in studios anyway, and so I think that would be great to have another great attraction in there with the Great Muppet Movie Ride. Yeah. Any other Muppety thoughts before we wrap up?
Muppety thought. It'd be fun. My only thing that I'm thinking of now is if they did a Great Muppet Movie Ride, you could get so meta with it and be like, well, we don't really do it with the rest of the park anymore, but we're going to show you how to do movies. And since we own them all now,
that would be spectacular. Like poke fun at
Gonzo,
the original origin. Yeah.
Yeah, Gonzo pops out with like Navi ears and a tail and stuff, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna fly a banshee."
That would be great.
That'd be great.
I think that's a hilarious idea to have them basically, like you said, poke fun at the origin of the park and bring some nostalgia back to the actual studios aspect. I think that would be great.
Yeah. A salute to all studios, but mostly Disney.
So true. So true.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, looking at my notes, there was supposed to be a Disney Plus series for the Muppets.
Yes.
Called The Muppets Live Another Day with Josh Gad, but that got canceled, I guess.
Yeah, and from my understanding, that was supposed to be more like original Muppet Show. Style. Like the variety show. I think that would be hilarious to have Josh Gad and then bring in like some current Disney stars to be on that show. I think that would have been spectacular. It would have just been phenomenal. I think that would have been what I wanted from that Muppet Show.
Yeah, I do get annoyed with Josh Gad. He's sort of like the James Corden of Disney. He's just always like popping up in things. So, but he is.
But at least Josh Gad
that was the trade-off.
Yes, I think Josh Gad's much funnier than James Corden.
And talented.
Yeah, very talented. Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we actually have, oddly enough, a fast pass to Frozen Ever After, because I guess Josh Gad heard we were talking about him, so he sent us a fast pass. Yeah. So
all right. Well, listen, we're gonna get we need to stop. We're gonna get a school bread really quick
perfect
in the Norway.
Well, I think we have to park hop first though, and then get that school bread.
Okay, I'm still getting the school bread.
Yeah.
All right.
Oddly enough, with that Olaf white chocolate piece.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. With that, hope you all had a great time with us on the Hubgrass today. We'll see you next time.
Reindeers are better than Josh Gad. Matt, don't you think? Hey folks, thanks for listening. If you want more Hubgrass in your life, you can find Matt separately at Matt Arterberry on TikTok or on YouTube at Matt and Mary Kate. Or you can find me at Unofficial Disney CEO on TikTok. Of course, you can always find us together on our Instagram at On the Hubgrass Pod, where we post content regularly. If you like what we do and you want to help make our show better, please consider joining our Patreon. Until next time, remember, there's a great, big, beautiful podcast, and it's just a stream away. We'll see you on the Hubgrass, folks.